own Adrian Sabatino. There he is. And he is in the Naples area, and he's going to talk to you about the path of money. And this is not his first time teaching this class, so you guys are in for a treat. Adrian, you want to tell us who you are and a little bit more about what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, really quick, because I don't want to dwell on that. Yes, Ryan. Adrian Sabatino. I was the previous operating principal of Naples and the Marco Island Market Center. And right now I'm just currently an investor in the Naples Market Center. The reason I gave up that OP responsibility, which I had the honor of doing, is because I really wanted to focus on just like what we're talking about is investing. I want to put all of my time, 100%, everything I do in my life while I'm focused on work mode is investing. And so right now I currently own probably, it changes daily, literally 85 to 90 properties. I'm building 30 properties. I flip all the time. I flipped over 100 properties in my life. I stopped counting at 100. I don't know the number anymore. So yeah, I've been around the block. I've been doing it since I've been in my early 20s, and I'm almost 50 now. So been doing it for a long time. It didn't happen overnight. So that's who I am. And I've got really 5 goals for today that I wrote down. I thought about this a lot as far as what, if someone comes out of this and they just kind of realize the few things that I talked about, what do I want those to be? And the one thing is, so out of the 5, the first one is that there is a path of money, first of all, that it's not just something that happens. You have to really focus on it, make it a goal. The second one is that you control the path, right? It's not happenstance. It doesn't happen from someone else doing it for you. It's you physically controlling the path. And just like Paul said, I love how Paul kind of ended that, is he mentioned information paralysis. I think that those are the words he used when he's speaking to some of the people that he helps with real estate. I couldn't agree more. I put amen in the chat when he said that. And the third goal that I have that you realize is that action is the #1 most important quality for success, along with a plan to take action. And without action and a plan, this is the 4th, your chances of success are just left to chance. And if that's what you choose to do, that's fine. I don't want to live like that. And then the 5th to me, and really the most important thing, is the target. So if you have an action and a plan, where are you going? And that's the target. And my target always has been to get towards a tipping point. In a second, Ryan, I'll ask you to play that video, and it talks about a tipping point. And what the tipping point is to me is that when your cash flow, your incoming money from your investments tips, and it's far exceeding the money that you're making from your job. I heard Paul talk about, we're all realtors, we all work. I get that. For me, that was not the end game. Right? For me, the end game was, where is the tipping point? Where does all the money coming in, cash flow, go much higher just from the investments than actually how much I'm making in real estate? And once you get to that point, it's a whole different world, right? So that's for me what it was about. So real quick before the video, actually, let's jump to the video real quick. It's just 2 minutes. What this does is it explains the path of money. I saw it online. I thought it was so great for this 45 minutes here. And if you could just play that, we'll just roll in and maybe get some ahas around this. So if you could just take some notes, and I'd love to hear some ahas from everyone just around this video.
Hey, I'm Clint with Rent Like a Pro. Today I want to go through a basic principle that separates investors from consumers, and it's the path of money. It's taught in Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, top-selling real estate investment book. For most of us, money comes from 2 different sources. Actually, for a lot of us, it comes from one source, and that's our work. And then over here, we have our assets. And all of this comes into what we like to call cash flow. So now you're going to take this cash flow, and this is where it separates investors from consumers. Consumers just let their money come in and go, and they don't really tell it where to go. Investors tell their money where to go. And there's typically 4 categories that you can have your money going. This is where the path of money stops for all of these categories except this one. And you can go down here and you can make 2 choices with your investments. You can lend or you can own. Now, there's 2 types of that too, passive or active investing. And that's where you have some control. These create financial returns. So the money comes in, say I have my $10 an hour job, it comes in here, I put $1 here and $1 here, and the rest goes here. It comes through, I invest it, right? I go active and I save it and put it towards real estate investing. Now this is where it gets really fun for an investor. These returns now come up and come back into the cycle right here. And instead of splitting it up again, we take this asset money as a cash flow and we put it right back into this category, which takes it right back down into this category, which puts it right back into this category and creates this cycle of compounding returns. So now what we all want to get to is the tipping point. That's where your assets are making you more money than your work. The key here is you're telling your money where it's going. Your money's not telling you where to go. I'm Clint with Rent Like a Pro. Share the video, get comments. If you ask any questions below, we'll be sure to answer them. Thanks for watching.
That's it. So love some, let's say 3 ahas from just 3 quick ahas that you have, that you thought about that video.
My aha is the fact that that was a well done video and it made it pretty simple to follow, and also to know where to put your money.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How about one more?
We got in the chat here. They said, tell your money where to go.
Yeah, kind of like what I said at the beginning. Okay, there's another one we'll get to in a second. Kind of like I said at the beginning, it's just not you're wondering what's happening. You're having, you make a plan and then you take action and be intentional with your money. So yes, thank you. I want to tell a quick story. I was 18 years old and I grew up, my mom was a builder, my dad was an architect. I grew up in real estate. And with that, I was around my dad, seeking investments and things like that. I went to college and my dad started building this giant, massive house that he basically could not afford. And huge house, and lost it, right? Lost it, market turned a little bit. And so I saw my dad go through massive health problems, had a heart attack, had multiple bypass surgeries. At one point he had a heart transplant. I mean, just devastated from real estate investing. And what I realized is that my parents were living above their means. And we hear this all the time, live above your means, live below your means. And I'm like, what does that really even mean? And what it really means is every one of us, if you're not living below your means, you will be going down, because there's a certain amount of money that you have incoming every single month that you can count on. And it's, what are you spending your money on? Right? So obviously everyone's have seen these books, different books that we talks about, Dave Ramsey and all these types of classes and things like that. And if you're not very purposeful about how much you're getting each month and how much you're spending on how much it is to take to live, food, basic necessities. Gary Keller talks about this all the time, that what is the portion you're setting aside for growth, for wealth building? Because if there isn't a portion of that, you're just going to be at plateau for the rest of your life. Nothing is going to change, right? That's why in the basic things I talked about at the beginning is that if you're not taking action, it's pointless. That kind of leads into the next thing I want to talk about is that, we've got these 3 series, or we got these series of books. We've got the MREI, right, which is what this really book is about, which is the cash flow, the path of money and how cash flows. You've got hold and flip. Well, flip, I'm so passionate about because, as I said, I've flipped over 100 homes, and I feel like I know this book inside and out. I mean, I've read it tons of times. I've taught this class. I can't remember how many times. And when I start to think about what's the difference between hold and flip, there's an obvious reason. One's you're flipping the house, you're selling it for a profit. One, you're not. I get that. So many people have asked me, why would you decide to flip? Why wouldn't you hold? Or why would you hold? Why would you flip? And I never really understood the right answer. And then just in the last few months, basically it came to me, which is it started from my childhood. As I said, my parents lost everything, did all those things. And so for me, I was always flipping houses so that I could earn profit, and I would take that money and I would stash it away. Right. So for me, it was about the reserves. Right. For me, it was about how much money can I put aside so that I know if I stopped working today, I can live for X amount of years without worrying about incoming cash flow, without worrying about money. So for me, I was on this journey for the last 20 something years to just build up this amount of money that I could have so that I wouldn't have this fear like my parents of losing everything. And so my short answer, sorry, that was a long-winded answer, but my short answer is to why would you hold and flip or vice versa is because two things. First of all, you would always hold if you are comfortable, two things, if you're comfortable with the reserves that you have, and if the whole property has positive cash flow. So if the whole property has positive cash flow, day one, right out of the gate, you should hold it forever. Never sell it. Never sell it. If you're fearful like I was, and I've been, as, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. What, I put that money out there, and what if something happens to me and this kind of fear takes over us? You're a great candidate to flip the property, take the money, and now you're comfortable because you have this amount of reserves built out, right? You would not hold the property if it doesn't cash flow. It doesn't make sense. And I'll give you a reason. So certain properties, like, you might own a property that's, I'll give you a crazy example just so we can all understand what I'm trying to say. A property that's worth $1 million and you owe $400,000, so you got $600,000 in equity. It might cash flow, but there's so much equity there that's sitting there that what could you do with that money? So there are examples where you say, holding this does not make sense because I could take that money and go make way more money. Any ahas around that so far?
My biggest aha is what Michael put in there. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. That's great.
Yeah, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And, I think that for me, it's just this constant hunt for three things. And this is from the flip book. And those things are time, talent, and treasure, right? Those, for me, it's right in the flip book. It's right at the beginning. I teach it all the time. Time, talent, treasure. Well, those three things are very important. So if you're hiring people to do jobs for you, and there's people working for you, that's called leverage. We all know that. Or is it you, right? Is it you doing it? Paul had talked about if you're buying your first rental property, you might want to do it yourself and not use a property manager. I heard that very clearly. Well, guess who's doing that? You are doing that, right? So as you think about it like a business, how valuable is your time, right? Here's the quickest way to figure it out. If you know your money per hour, how much are you worth? Then you'll quickly decide what's worth having someone do those jobs, or are you doing it yourself? So if you take how much you make per year and you divide it by how many hours you work, you will know what you are worth per hour. So if I could pay someone to do those jobs, right? Property manager and things like that, is that worth it? That's the quickest way to find out. So talent, that never ends. Constant talent search never ends. I'm always trying to find builders. I'm always trying to find new property managers. I'm always trying to find different people that can come into my life and make my life easier, right? So there's a constant talent search. It never stops. And then treasure, we talked about that, the money part. Are you using your own money? Are you using other people's money? Are you leveraging the money from different sources and different banks, right? So those three things is, if you asked any investor that has any level of success, what are the three things that they do every single day? It's that. It's thinking about your time, your talent, and your treasure, and how you optimize those for in the best of your favor that it could be. I thought about this analogy. Robert Kiyosaki is a big fan of his. Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's written several books. Cash Flow Game. There's so many things that he's done that I'm a huge fan of. And one of the things he talked about was, and this goes back to taking action, which is if you were learning to Ryan, I know you've been a good participant, so I'm going to ask you the question. If you wanted to learn how to ride a bike, you never knew how to ride a bike, right? How many books could you read, seminars you could go to mega camp, family reunion about riding a bike, whatever it is, all the things that you could consume into your brain, right? About how to ride a bike. Do you think you'd be great at riding a bike if I said, here's a bike, go?
No, I'd have to do it a little bit. I'm more of a doer.
You got to do it. We all have to do it, right? You can't just learn all this information about real estate and investing and not do it. You know, he talked, I keep going back to Paul because I loved a lot of things he said, is that he talked about these people that take all these classes and seminars and books and fill your whole library with stuff to do. And that's awesome. But like, if you're not doing anything about it, it's pointless, right? Same thing with swimming. You could do all these things about learning how to swim, right? And if you don't really just get out there and do it, you'll never know, right? And riding a bike, yeah, go ahead.
I think of it kind of like my parents too. Like they told me to do things to set my life up for success. And I, of course, didn't do it. I wanted to do it my way. And then I knew I had the knowledge of it though. So once I started doing those things and started applying what they told me, it made it a little bit easier, but it's still the same scenario. I like riding a bike. I could listen to my parents tell me over and over how to ride a bike, but until I actually do it, then I can start understanding it, and then I can start applying what they said.
Exactly. And, you know, riding a bike and swimming, the two examples I use, they're dangerous if you're not doing them correctly, right? Like you could die,
Yeah.
Right? So investing, could you die? I don't think so, right? Maybe unless you borrow from a hard money guy, you know, cousin Jimmy, I don't know, and he's after you, maybe. But you see what I'm saying? Like, you have to do it, right? You have to just get out there and do it. And there's no other way besides just doing it. You can ask advice, you can do all those things. I preach this all the time, and some people hear it, but they don't listen. They hear it, they don't listen, which is anybody that's listening to this and any flip class that I teach and any hold class, any MREI class, anything they've ever done, I'm happy for everyone on this call. If you want to send me an investment that you're looking for, you know, that you're looking at, and you want a second opinion, I'm happy to do it. But here's what most people don't hear. They hear that part, but they don't hear the second part, which is the second part is once you are under contract, right? You're not buying it yet. You can still get out, right? And you've run the numbers and you've gotten quotes and you have a contractor give you all the bids. You know, you've talked to your property manager. You've got all the pieces together. Is this a good deal? Should I buy this piece of property? Once you know that, send it to me. Yeah, of course. But you know what I get? I get links to properties. Say, do you think this is a good deal? I see people laughing, and you know, so that hit a bone with you. So, yeah. How do I know it's a good deal, right? I don't know it's a good deal because have done zero investigating on it. I don't have any idea. Like, don't send me links, right? You should. That's someone not taking the steps, the homework to do it, to do the right thing, to understand if this property is a good deal, right? If it makes sense, if it cash flows, if the repairs are more than you can afford, if the capital expenditures are just too much for you, whatever that could be. Any ahas on that? I saw people laughing, so I've got to hear something there.
I just think everybody's looking for an easy button. That's why they just send you the link, right? If it was that easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So do your homework.
Yeah. I mean, if it's something that you want to do, that you're going to invest money in, right? Something that you're going to put a bunch of money in, shouldn't you know? And here's the coolest thing. You want to hear something so cool is that most likely if someone actually does all the homework and has all the numbers, they don't need my opinion. That's the coolest part about it, right? You don't need anybody's opinion. It shows you right there. It says, this makes sense. Steve, right there, I'm picking on you, buddy, because we talk all the time. Steve will send me a property. And what do I say, Steve? Every time, what do I say? The same thing. I don't change.
What's the numbers? And I've stopped sending you links.
There you go. Because I'm not answering you because if you don't know, how would I know, right? If you don't know, then it doesn't make any sense. So that kind of leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is, you know, we all went to, hopefully, right? We went to elementary school, middle school, high school. When you did that, you know, I'd come home at each semester or at the end of the year and I'd show my parents what would I show them? To show all my efforts for the year. What was the one thing that I showed them on one page, on one piece of paper? I showed my parents and they know if I did a good job or if I didn't. What was that thing?
Your grades.
Report card.
My report card, right? Report card. So the problem is a lot of people, once they graduated high school or college, that report card stopped. right? So there wasn't someone grading you and saying you did a good job. You got an A, a B, a C, a D. Well, there is actually a report card for adults. I don't know if you guys know what it is. It's
P&L.
it's the P&L, and there's one more thing. So
Balance sheet.
profit and loss, but what is the other thing that there is as well?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet, of course, an OP knows that answer, right? Michael Bemke. Yeah, so there's two things. And so if you're not doing that for your own business, I'm not talking about your real estate. I'm talking about your personal assets. And in doing that, when you see that report card, you'll know, hey, I'm kicking butt or I'm not kicking butt. And it's a self-judging document that you can just stare at and just say, holy crap, I've got to get moving, right? I'm behind where I want to be. And so the first thing I would say is if you don't have your adult report cards, get that going. No matter how good or bad that they are, you need to know where you are because that's the only way that you can go up, right? Let's get back to the holds for a second. Right here, hold. I had another aha I want to share with you guys just recently. And so a lot of times, and it talks about this through this whole book, it talks about cash flow, right? The Path of Money talks about cash flow. Okay. Well, there's one thing, there's a hidden thing that you only typically see if you're getting financing on a property. They might show you it at the closing table, and then you kind of put it away with all your documents, and that's the amortization schedule, right? Amortization schedule. By the way, calculator.net, you just put amortization schedule on Google, and you can get instant, put in an amount that you're borrowing, you can put in the interest rate, and then you can instantly see what your property's value, or sorry, what you will owe on your property in what year. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because when you're assessing properties to hold or long-term investments, this to me is more important than the other two items. And Ryan, can you put that chart up that we talked about now? Just if you could put that up on the screen. So this right here is the page 129 from the MREI book, MREI book, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, page 129. It is the Path of Money. And we saw that little video. I'm not going to rehash that. I just want to kind of introduce the things here on the side, which is, I got to move my screen here so I can see it. The future equity, cash flow, amortization, and speculation. And here's the thing. I kind of draw 3 boxes below every hold property that I have. 3 boxes, right? The first box is cash flow. Does the property make sense on a monthly basis when you take away all of your expenses, all of your things that account for the things that you will be spending on the property, including vacancy rate, including capital expenditures, brought out to, let's say, 10 or 15 years or however long you can depreciate those. When all the costs come in on how much it's going to take to run that property like a business, what is your positive cash flow? And if that is not a positive number, the property is done for me. It moves on. It's not emotional. It's out. The second thing is the equity, right? Speculation. So I ask this question in my flip class all the time, which is, I just need someone to participate here, which is that if you took every single property, house, condo, townhouse, doesn't matter, everyone that you've ever seen in your life, every property that's out there in the universe that's built, does that property over time depreciate or does it appreciate? Does it go up in value or does it go down in value? That house, right? That house, does it go up or down? Ryan, what do you think?
The house, it should go up.
Anybody else? What do you think? If you're looking at a house, does that house over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, does it go up in value or down in value?
Up.
Yeah, for the most part, most people are going to say up. I say that house is absolutely going to depreciate in value. Every single day, the roof is worth less. The windows are worth less, right? Everything's worth less, right? 20 years, that roof, you need a new roof, right? Or 25, whatever type of roof that is. So the house is actually depreciating all the time, just like a car, right? well, someone said if you maintain it, correct, but then you're putting money in, and then okay, so if you put a new roof on, okay, well, then the new roof in 5 years is depreciating. It doesn't matter what you do to the house. The item that you do to the house is always depreciating. What makes the actual overall property appreciate over time is when the value of the land, the dirt, right? Gary said buy dirt. The value of the land increases faster than the house is depreciating. So as long as that dirt is going up faster than the house is going down, then the overall value of that property is going up. The problem is a lot of people will buy real estate because they're gambling on the future appreciation of the property. And I'll give you a perfect example. We're in a market right now that properties absolutely could be worth less next year than you buy them for today. I'm sure a lot of people could argue that fact, right? The fact is, if you're buying a property because you're hoping that the value is higher later on, whether it's a year from now or 2 years from now, that might not be the case. I'm getting a lot of background noise, Ron. I don't know if you can mute.
Yeah.
Anyway, the 3 boxes. I just want to reiterate this. The first one's cash flow, right? If your cash flow isn't positive, you're moving on. When you're talking about the value, right? The appreciation or depreciation, the equity in the property, that could go up and it could also go down. So you can't bank on that, right? Over time, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, most likely it'll be worth more than it is today. But that is not what I use when I think about a property to hold. It's absolutely not. It's not what I use. The biggest thing I use is the amortization schedule. The biggest thing that I use is the amortization schedule. I'm going to give you an example. I have it pulled up here on my other screen. If you have a $200,000 loan, okay, over 30-year term, it is worth the value of that loan. In other words, what I owe to the bank on year 20 is worth about a half. It's $108,000, right? It takes 2/3 of the loan of a 30-year loan, so that's the point where you own half of the loan that you borrowed. So there's like this crossroads. It's pretty cool because it shows you how they intersect, and where the portion of the money that you're spending every month is greater. The equity that you're buying down is greater than the interest, and it's about halfway in that amortization schedule. The point I'm bringing this up is this: if you know that you're going to hold a property 10 years, pick a date. It doesn't matter, but that's your plan. 10 years. You need to take, so 10 years in this $200,000 example, that property in 10 years will owe 167. So about $33,000 comes off the principal in 10 years. I take my calculator out, 33,000 divided by 10. 3,300 divided by 12, $275 a month. So what I need to understand is, for my amortization, I'll do that again. I just want to make sure everyone got it. You take the total amount that you owe, and you take the amount that you paid down, right? So if it's 200, now in year 10, it's 167. I paid down 33,000. I divide that by 10 years. That's my plan for this house, right? That's 3,300 divided by 12 per month. Really, that's $275 that I am cash flowing, except guess what? I'm not paying taxes on it. How cool is that, right? So I take that amount and I add that to my cash flow for the overall picture to see if this is a good deal or not. It's not just the cash flow. I stop at the cash flow if it's not positive, but I add the amortization to know the true picture of that house. Any questions or ahas on that?
Adrian, I'm going to go ahead and share. I brought it up so we could share what it looks like on the screen, just in case we got some visual. This is the graph you're looking at.
It's blank, your computer. You might need to go to a...
Sorry. See, I shared the wrong screen then.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at.
So it showed year 10, 167,000 right there is the ending balance. And again, this is calculator.net and just going into amortization calculator.
Yeah, I love looking at that. I have it pulled up on my computer all the time. I just have it as a link. It helps you understand how to assess the property. This page that you pulled up, this path of money, I'm telling you, I carry this around with me everywhere I go. I'm really a freak like that. And at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, but there's the boxes right there. Amortization, cash flow, and equity up or down. I mean, I stare at this all day, every day. I mean, I constantly am trying to understand where my balance sheet is, where my profit and loss is. That's all I do. That's how I think. Me getting to the tipping point and understanding, when you're having passive income, everyone talks about passive income, passive income. Passive income is you not working for it, right? It's you letting your money work for you. And that's really what I see when I see this chart, is that how is your money working for you? If we're all realtors, you've got the human capital on the top left, right? You go out, you take a listing, you take a buyer out, you get commission. Well, let's say the commission's $10,000, but you spend the $10,000. Then guess what? Throw this chart in the trash. It doesn't matter. This chart means nothing to you if you're spending the money that you're earning from your human capital. The only way to kind of get this engine going, like when you, Ryan, when you get an engine going, you gotta like prime it, and you gotta like, it starts going, and then now it's going, now it's going. Well, your engine of your P&L and your balance sheet, if you're not taking a good portion of your money, 20%, 30% of the money that you get, and putting it into this engine, then your engine's not even on. It's just sitting there dead. It's frozen. So if you take a portion of your money every single time and you put it just like it's a non-negotiable item, and you put it towards investing, that's how I think every day. That's how I think. And the kind of game to it, in my mind, it's a game, is that how big of a percentage can I take from the incoming human capital? And by the way, the capital assets, like the money that's coming in from cash flow, what's the percentage that I can take of that and put that back into the engine so that the engine grows? That's the game. To me, that's the game.
So when you're saying that, I think a lot of times about the fact, like even in real estate, we start talking to people in our contacts. That's the beginning, right? We need to start making that communication.
Yep, right here. Yep.
Then from there, it takes sometimes before we see some results. Very similar to going to the gym. We go and start working out, but it's not like we see results immediately. So how soon should we start seeing results when we're doing this?
It depends on what your goal is, right? It depends on what your target is, right? So when you're asking that, give me an example. How quick do you see results?
I'm just thinking, like, if I'm an agent and I'm making $100,000 a year and I'm taking 30% of that, like you suggested, and putting that into investments, at what point should I start thinking, I should start seeing something? It's just like me going to the gym. I'm not going to see something the next day, but maybe a week from now, I might lose a couple pounds. And then a month from now, I might lose 10 pounds. We'll see. Obviously, it's what I put into it, but
I'm going to go right back to the amortization schedule and cash flow. I mean, that's how I'd see it. I'd say, okay, year one, I only paid off $2,500. It's not so exciting, right? The goal is the goal. What's my 5-year, 10-year, 50? Like, what is the long-term goal? You won't see the results right away. But the cool thing is if you look and you have this printed, like, here's my folder for this investment property. Oh my gosh, on year 11, look what happens, right, on that chart. So you have to understand that it is like the gym. By the way, I'm in my gym, right? That's where I'm at right now. Right here, it says, push yourself. No one's going to do it for you.
Treadmill behind you.
Yeah, there's a treadmill there. There's my tempo machine. I mean, it's the same concept, right? It's like it will not work. You can't go to the gym and be ripped in 1 hour in a 1 hour workout. It's not going to happen, right? It's going to the gym over and over and over again, consistently, with a plan and eating right, all those things, that's going to get you to where you want to go. It's the same thing. So when you're saying how quickly, it's not quick. You could do a flip deal, make a bunch of money. That's great. What are you going to do with it? Like, what are you going to do with it? Like, what's the point? Okay, you sold that house, you made 10 grand, 20 grand. What's the point of that? For me, there's the end game is having cash flow enough that my target is the tipping point that gets me so that the passive income coming in from those investments leads me to a place where, guess what? I'm not working anymore. Like, I don't have to take that buyer out, and I don't have to take that listing. That's the goal for me. That's the goal. Anyway, unless you really just love it so much, unless you guys just all love sellers demanding your time and all the things you do, and the buyer saying, I want to see this house on a Saturday. Unless you so much love that, that's exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life till you're in your grave. If that's what you want to do, that's awesome. And I love real estate, Ryan. You know I love real estate. I'm not knocking real estate. That got everything that I had from my family, and that was it, right? I'm just saying that there is a bigger picture through real estate. And I kind of want to say one more thing about that, is that, and I said this in the last flip class, I don't know how people took it or not, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I see people posting stuff on Facebook. I just sold this. I sold this property to my buyer last year, and now I just helped them sell it. And oh my gosh, my seller made $100,000, and they're so excited about that. That Facebook post, they're so excited about that. Well, couldn't that agent have just done that themselves and bought that house that was a good deal? Like, that agent is helping their customers find good deals. So many of our agents are not finding good deals for themselves. And for me, if you take anything away from this, that's what I'm passionate about, is just having people, letting people have the aha that if you're not looking for deals for yourself, then your license is great to make you money, to make the human capital, you working for money. But if you're not taking the tools that you have and using that to your own advantage to finding deals, then I think that you're also missing the point of a license.
So when you're talking about that, you're saying that you're you don't hate real estate. I don't take it as that. I take it as you just wanting to be into that fourth quadrant of I. I mean, if you're a real estate agent, you're pretty much an S, which means you own your business.
Yeah,
You're independent. But as an I, you're an investor, and that's the quadrant you want to live in because it's more profitable, right?
that's exactly right. If you stop, if you're in a business where you don't have a team and you don't have things going, and you're an individual agent, I mean, even a team, if you don't have, if you're not doing deals, if you're not selling real estate, the money stops, and then that's it. And then what are you going to do? Then you have reserves, hopefully, and then you live on that, and that's over. Like, that's it. And then and then you go back, I got to sell more houses. And then it's just like this never ending cycle of doing that. So if you're choosing to make a change, first thing I said is the action. And by the way, Paul said it too. And I bet you that'll be a very consistent theme that you're going to hear today through anybody that's had any level of success, is that if you're not taking action and doing things daily, consistently, right, over time, then it's just another book you read, and another seminar you went to, and another audio book that you read, and that's great. But if you're actually not getting on the bike and potentially falling down and scuffing your knee, then guess what? You're not doing anything. You're going to be at the same place next year, and in 2 years, and in 5 years, and you're going to look back and you're going to say, I should have bought that house. I should have done that. I should have done that. I mean, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to have those regrets.
Talking about should have. So there's probably a lot of people on this call who are like, I want to invest. However, I've got some debt I need to take care of. Should they take care of their debt first, or should they just go ahead and start investing right away, or could they do both?
I love that question. I think there's good debt and there's bad debt, right? Let's talk about good debt and bad debt. So I love taking on debt where I know that the amount that I'm going to be charged for that money is less than the percentage that I can make on that money. So it's the same thing. So if you have credit card debt and you're getting 18 or 19% interest rate on that, can you take that same money that you would use to pay down that debt? Are you going to make more than that 20%? I don't know, maybe not, right? Because that's a pretty high interest rate. So that's my answer, is that as long as you understand that using the money that you have, is it going to make you more money than the debt? If it's a clear answer, then that's the way I would go, right? If it's not a clear answer and you think you need to get rid of that debt first, then I feel like that's the first thing you should do. Because it's just eating away, right? It's just, if you're going to go put money into this investment property and it's called a cash on cash return, Ryan, right? Is really what it's called. If you take an amount of money and you buy an investment property, and you figure out what's the percentage I'm making on that money that I put into the property, not the borrowed money, the total money that came out of my bank account. What's that cash on cash return? What's that interest? And if that interest is far below the debt that you have to pay back, then it's not a good time to buy an investment property, and hold it at least.
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
So hopefully this inspires a few people. So my parents don't come from any money at all. I was raised like lower middle class. And the last few years, just like many of you, have been the best years of my career so far. I was able to buy a home, updated the home, and, you know, trying to shift my perspective to what he's talking about you have to invest that money. So I'm actually in the process. I just got approved and secured a HELOC on my home. I got a credit for $120,000. So I'm currently looking for an investment property for myself and for my family, either a yearly rental or an Airbnb, and I'm going to do it over and over again. And I'm not using my own money. So I think just like you said, you have to jump in the water, but that's the only way you're going to reach that end game is if you start somewhere. So I'm at the beginning stages of it right now. So I want to encourage you all, get started right now. A recession is a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah, and you know, there's always ups and downs with every market. I've bought properties in every single market, good and bad, doesn't matter. There's always properties that need work. There's always a house there's always a property that is 25 years old or 20 years old or 18 years old that needs a bunch of work. The roof's bad. There's always a property that needs work. There's always a property that someone's getting divorced and they have to sell today and they're willing to take it a discount. There's always a property where even in a good market, a hurricane could come in and blow the roof off a house, even in the hottest market, right? There's always a property out there. And when someone says, oh, I shouldn't buy in the hot market, I'm going to bring it back to what I said, is that I don't look at the appreciation from what I'm getting it for to what I think it's going to be worth. That's like the least of my worries of that part, right? So what's it going to be worth next year? I mean, that's great. It's icing on the cake. The appreciation is icing on the cake. Okay. The more important thing is the cash flow and the amortization. Add it up so you know how much you're making. I'm putting this money out, and my percentage return is the money that I'm making each month. That's really what there is to look at. That's it. It's not that we're in the hottest market. Oh my gosh. So what? So what? So what if the property went down $30,000, $40,000, $50,000? So what? Well, are you selling it? If you're selling it, it matters, right? It matters. But if you're doing a long-term hold, you got plenty of reserves, you got money in the bank, you're comfortable, you're in a place where you don't need the money, then why would you ever sell it? You should never sell any property unless it doesn't make sense for the equitable position or cash flow. That's it.
Anybody else have any questions? Marlene has a question for you.
Well, I actually have I have an aha, to tell you the truth. It's you know, the fact that you said know your balance. I'm sorry, know your balance sheet, because it's your report card. It's a great eye opener just to look at it and say, okay, that's what I'm looking for is my report card and how I'm doing. You know, and also the fact that we're finding deals for others and not finding them for ourselves is a big thing that you look at and you think about it all the time. It's why am I going out searching for deals for others when I can do that for myself and build the wealth that I need in my own life? So, you know, big takeaways. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a great aha. I mean, the thing is too, Marlene, is that, you know, if you don't have the reserves and the amount of money that you need to live, like that you have a good amount of reserves, you do need to do real estate deals. We all need to do real estate deals. I don't want to get away from that. You know, it's not a bad thing to have a great customer and have them be very profitable from a property that you help them buy and sell. That's a great thing. I don't want to take away from that. What I was trying to make with that point was that could you have done that for yourself and made much more than the 3% or 2.5% or whatever it is that you're going to get from that property? Was that, see, that the thing is that these properties, guys, they're in our hands first, right? we are the first person that sees these homes, right? And then we share them to our customers and let them say, hey, I've got a good deal. If it's that much of a good deal, just saying.
Isn't that kind of like a personal trainer helping someone else get in shape more than they're in shape?
Yeah, kind of, right? I mean, I don't want to, I have my opinion on that, Steve. I go to the, if you go to the gym, you see a personal trainer and they're like not in shape at all.
That's what I mean.
Wait, what's this person going to teach me? That's my initial thought, but I don't want to judge, right? But yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Practice what you preach.
What would you say for people that think that they're too old to jump in and take that risk?
I don't think anyone's ever too old, first of all. And the second is that, going back to the target for me is that where's that tipping point of not working compared to working? I mean, that's how I think about it. So if you're not at that tipping point of having to work, not having to work, then there is no, like, you're not there yet, right? So you're not there. To me, that's like I graduated high school, right? And now I'm going to college. That's how my brain thinks about that. Like the tipping point is I did the required amount of work so that the education system says that I'm able to go back out into the workforce, right? So that to me is like the tipping point. The college education and the master's and the doctorate, for me, that's beyond the tipping point, right? Beyond the part where now I don't have to do it, but now it's just more of a fun, using a lot of creativity, imagination, putting deals together. It's more of a fun part at that point. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
I want to add to that because we have a statement that says we want to create businesses worth owning, lives worth living, and legacies worth leaving, right? So you're never too old. You can leave that legacy behind you, even if you do pass away or whatever, you have something to leave behind. And also I've heard the same question before. I'm too young. You're never too young. As soon as you can buy a house, go buy a house. I do it.
100%. Yeah. You're not, I mean, never too young. If you can, like just do it. Like I bought my first house, I think I was 20, it was $86,000 and I sold it and did all the work myself. And I made, I don't know, it was me and another guy. We made like 15 grand total, like on the house. And that was great because I made $7,500, did it again and again and again, many, many times. And yet I look at that house and like, okay, I got that $7,500 and that helped me at that time to go forward and take the next steps. And I probably wouldn't have been who I am today if I didn't do that many, many times with flipping. And if I didn't sell that house, right, and I kept that house, wow, that house is probably worth $500,000 today. Right?
I have no college debt at all because of the fact I took scholarships and I bought a house and I rented out the rooms and I paid for everything.
Michael asked, how much are we done with time, Ryan? Or
yeah, we're pretty much at time, but we got a question, go for it.
Yeah, because I love this question. This is the one question I get all the time that Michael Bunke asked, what's the minimum ROI I look for in a deal? I have a very clear answer on that. Very, very clear answer on that. It's specific to when I talked about, I'm getting background noise again. It's specific to the amount of money that I know that I make per hour. It's specific to that. So if someone brings me a deal as in my 20s and said, hey, I've got a deal for you, you can make $10,000 total. Like if you buy this house and you put the money into it and it's going to take you 4 months to do it and put it on the market, and then you're going to make $10,000. Am I likely to do that deal today? No. Was I very excited to do that deal then? Yes. And it really comes to the value that I put on myself, on my time. That's the answer, Michael. It's not more of a percentage, more of that. If I calculate when I analyze the deal that I know that deal is going to take so much of my time, at least my best guess. And then I say per hour, is that worth it for me to do that activity and buy that house? It's just an activity to me to buy that house and put money into it and sell it or hold it, whatever the case may be. Is that worth my time? So ROI, yeah, you get 100 different opinions of that. Oh, I look for 10%, 20%, 30%. Yeah, that's great if I'm not doing anything. If it's truly a passive way to make the money, but it's not that, right? You need to oversee your investments, at least at the beginning.
All right, in the chat, I just put the link to go get this book called Millionaire Real Estate Investor. The same link. If you go into there, you can go into the book section and you can get those other 2 books he's got in his hand, which are Flip and Hold. I've got them on the shelf behind me. They're great books. I would do exactly what he did. Mark that sucker up because he's got all those little
Oh, yeah.
tabs and stuff in there. You'll find a ton.
Yeah, I mean, and I just want to say one more thing. So, I had 5 goals to understand there's a path of money. You control the path. Don't let someone else control it for you. Have an action plan, right? And then your goal is to aim towards the tipping point of having your passive income and your cash flow exceed the money that you work for. And I hope that was a good part of the discussion today, and to take action, because you could read these books 100 times and you could know them better than anybody. But if you don't do anything about it, then you're wasting your time.
That was one of the biggest things we talked about. What was the goal of this? Is to get people into action, right?
That's it.